So the Singapore Grand Prix is on this weekend, and I fully believe that this is the most physically challenging race on the Formula One calendar. Last year we had an exception, I feel, with Qatar. That was a really, really nasty race. Drivers were literally vomiting in their helmets, nearly passing out, overheating, getting heat stroke. Really, really difficult conditions in Qatar, which, hopefully we'll not see repeated this year. They have moved it to a later spot in the year, so it shouldn't be as hot over there. But something that's not going to change is the absolute sweat box, the heat, the physical exertion of the Singapore Grand Prix. Now, while this track around the Marina Bay street circuit is not a particularly fast one, unlike Qatar where you had all those G-forces, the fact that this is so slow, actually one of the slowest tracks on the Formula One calendar, does mean that in terms of the physicality required, the physical stamina that you need to be able to complete this, it's an unbelievable effort really from the drivers, and I absolutely applaud them for being able to do this. Formula One drivers are incredibly fit. We know this. They train all the time. They are in incredible shape. They are athletes in every sense of the word. I've already done my opinions on. Well, it's not even an opinion for me. It's a fact that these guys are athletes and they are top sportsmen, and they should be respected as such. And doing events like Singapore really does show, how good they are at what they do. I've been to Singapore. I've actually been to the Marina Bay street circuit. If I can find some pictures of it, I might put it in. Might put it in the video up there. There we go. That's the way in the corner or whatever. But I have actually been to the track, and when it was outside of race time, and they were just starting to construct it. That was around, I think it was around June time when I went, something like that. And I walked the length of the track. I went around the whole thing basically. Most of it's just regular roads. Some of it's like its own thing just for the F1 paddock and stuff. Just walking around there in the middle of the day. It was my first or second day in Southeast Asia, never been before. The heat of that place is unbelievable. We complain here in the UK when it gets like 25 degrees, something like that. But over there, it is like 35 degrees every day, like clockwork. And the humidity. It's not the heat that gets you, it's the humidity. It's like Cool Runnings, what John Candy says when they get out of the airport. It's not the heat that gets you, it's this humidity. And the humidity out there just means that you just sweat no end. The feels like temperature is like 50 degrees all the time. And even at night, because even though the temperature goes down a little bit and the sun goes away, the actual humidity actually rises because of that. So it's a very, very physically demanding track. The barriers line the entire length of the circuit. It is a very, very tough track because if you make a mistake, you will end up in the barriers. And even though they've made efforts to, kind of open the circuit up, like make the, turn what was chicanes into straights, like they've done in the third sector, for example, and they've got rid of things like the Singapore Sling, a triple chicane. They've changed things like that to make the track faster overall. If you get a big crash or you get some safety cars in this race, it's going to run to 2 hours every single time. So, most Formula One Grand Prix are about an hour and a half, and so something like 90 minutes. You get the Italian Grand Prix that's like 80 minutes, 75 minutes, something like that. But it's the time as well. This is a 2-hour race pretty much every single time, so the amount of time they're spending in the car is ridiculous. And they probably have less liquid than you can fit in like this glass, to actually keep them hydrated during this time, and that'll heat up immediately. Like that won't be cool for very long at all. And sometimes we even hear the drinks buttons don't work. So can you imagine doing that? You can imagine going to the gym with it being really sweltering hot and working out like on the treadmill for 2 hours, doing like a jog for 2 hours or a long walk or something like that, or going on the exercise bike. And then imagine doing that in a full-on race suit, being strapped to like a car that's going 150 miles an hour with all the G-forces. It's unbelievable. And doing things like Singapore, doing like the Singapore Grand Prix just shows how physically demanding this is. It's similar to the Malaysian Grand Prix, what we used to have in Formula One, but that's been off the calendar since 2017 was the last time we raced there. But even there, you had long straights to try and get some air, get some cooling in the car or something. But in Singapore, you just don't get that. You don't get a long enough straight to do that. You don't get enough of a break really to kind of breathe. And on top of that, you've also got the lights which are brightening the track up. That also radiates a lot of heat too. So it is a very, very physically demanding track. and a very physically demanding race. And it's one of the many examples for me that shows that Formula One drivers are athletes. They are elite sportsmen and they should be respected as such, like I said earlier on. But yeah, there we go, guys. That's kind of a rundown of what it's like. If you don't believe me, go to Singapore, go to Thailand, go to Malaysia. You'll experience that kind of heat. Vietnam. The Southeast Asian jungle heat is on another level to almost any other kind of heat you'll find anywhere in the world outside of like the Amazon rainforest or the Congo or whatever. You know, it's just ridiculous. So yeah, those are my thoughts on it, guys. For much more content in the run up to the Singapore Grand Prix, keep it tuned here to the F1Chronicle.com.